What is up, my Yu-Gi-Oh bros? I'm your host, the RJV0. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I realize I usually do these deck analyses on Dueling Network. However, Dueling Network chose a hell of a time to crash. So I am now doing it on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro. Today was ARGCS in DC, and that was a lot of letters. Anyway, so two decks that I actually thought were really interesting got the top two slots at ARGCS. This is Nate Forte's TG Madolche deck. They were both hybrid decks, and I will be uploading a video for the Hand Girgia deck that was the second place slot today. I'm going to do a quick run through of the deck list, then let's talk about some of the choices. First, of course, you have the triple Madolche, you've got triple Angeli, triple Hootcake, double Messenger Lotto, one Mufui. Then we've got TG Striker, triple Warwolf, one Bear, double Veiler, one Maxi, 3 MST, 3 Lance, 3 Tenki, 1 Ticket. We've got 1 Chateau, 1 Rank Up Magic, the 7th one. You've got a Breakthrough Skill, Trap Stun, Solemn Warning, Bottomless Trap Hole, Torrential Tribute, Deprison, Fiendish Chain, and then Compulsory Evacuation Device. So let's look at the main deck for a second. So the first part of the Madolche lineup is actually fairly standard. You've got the 3 Madolche, you've got the 3 Angeli, and you've got the 3 Hootcake. That's something that you're going to see in basically every single Madolche deck that you go against or that you look up to play. One of the things that you're going to notice that's really interesting about this deck is he goes pretty light on the OTK material. He does make a lot of aggressive plays, but they aren't relying on the OTK nearly as much as a standard Madolche deck does. As you'll see that he does not run Madolche Palooza, which is a really big thing when you're going for the OTK. However, in this instance, it didn't seem to really go for the OTK. He just went for really aggressive removal plays that then would put him in a really good position. Sorry, I was just adjusting in my chair. Anyway, so that's really interesting about this Madolche lineup, and one of the other things you're going to notice is he's very low on the other Madolche monsters. You've only got the 2 Messenger Lotto and the 1 Mufui. You're often going to see a player going with the triple Messenger Lotto and triple Mufui, or doubles of both, but actually this is a really interesting idea for the lineup that doesn't use those, because if you think about it, you really don't want to have either of these in your hand except in very special situations. The only time you want Messenger Lotto in your hand is if you already have Mufui, and you don't really want Messenger Lotto in your hand even if you have Mufui, because Mufui can be used for combos aside from the Messenger Lotto. You need the double Messenger Lotto in order to make your really aggressive plays, but you don't want to really have to rely on that Mufui to get it out of your hand. So you want the Mufui for very specific plays, and you can search it out with Magellan if you do happen to draw the Messenger Lotto or any one of the other plays that you are going to want Mufui for. But for the most part, you do not want either of these cards to be in your hand. So I think that the 2 and 1 is actually a really, really good lineup to have in the Madolche deck. Let's look at the TG engine, which is something I really liked, and allowed him to do those aggressive plays that I was talking about. So you've got the Bear, which seemed to be his initial play. He seemed to really like going into that setup with the first turn Tenki into Bear to allow him to clear a monster off the board and be able to get another Tenki in order to go for Warwolf. This allowed him to go plus like crazy, which was really good, but it also allowed him to set up that play with Warwolf, which allowed him to make his rank 3 plays so you could extend his combos further. If you're playing with the Angeli Hootcake play that you make, you can go into the extended plays with things like Leviair and Invoker much more easily if you have Warwolf available, because when you special the Hootcake, you can summon the Warwolf, and then when Hootcake gets the Messenger Lotto, then you can go into a rank 3, and it doesn't require you once again to run the Mufui, which is actually very conditional and uses up your normal summon. So I really like this play in general. I also like the fact that it's a floater engine, which is really good. And allows you to go for TG Striker, which gives you some pretty ball and synchro plays. For instance, Beast and Barkion are really good in clutch plays against things like spellbooks and decks that run a lot of traps. Barkion is just a freaking amazing card against the Hat deck. Freaking Armades is amazing against Boojins. Like, this is the best monster in the world when you're playing against Boojins. I cannot think of something better to have available to you. If you're playing against that Boojin matchup, you can just special summon that Striker, and then normal summon any one of your level 3s, and then synchro into that Armades and start wrecking the game. It's a really good setup. I like the TG engine just in general, but it seemed to have really worked to allow him to set up for those aggressive plays that I was talking about without having to wait in order to have the OTK. Then he's got 2 Veilers and 1 Max C. I generally like to have more Max Cs than Veilers because I like the fact that Max C allows me to draw into Veiler, but in the current format, the thing you really want out of an OTK stopper is the Veiler. So Max C allows you to try and get the Veiler, but it makes more sense to have more Veilers since that's the kind of end game that you want out of stopping an OTK. Then you've got triple MST, which is really good against everything except Hat. A lot of people are talking about not running triple MST, but there are a lot of situations that we saw today in the stream, like when he was playing against Girgia, when his opponent would set a back row and he could MST it, and it would turn out to be the wiretap that player needed during the next turn. It can take out, in the mirror match, it can take out Chateau or Ticket. It's just a really good card, despite the fact that the Hat matchup makes it a little less than optimal. So then you've got Triple Lance. Now this is something I really like because Lance theory is a little bit like Forbidden Chalice theory, which says that if you have a card that allows you to make your plays no fear, that allows you to not fear your opponent's possible plays that stop them. For instance, again, Forbidden Chalice or Breakthrough Skill against Hat, then you want to be able to get it the turn that you use it. In this case, Lance is used over wiretap or more trap stuns because he can use it the turn that he gets it. And one of the things about Forbidden Lance is normally people don't play it in a heavy back row format, but in this format, because Hat is such a big thing, people aren't maining Black Horn of Heaven because Hat just doesn't really make Xyz monsters very often, so Black Horn of Heaven is often dead. So that's the only thing you actually really have to worry about when you're looking at Forbidden Lance, besides the possible clutch warning, which is really unlikely. So if you have the Lance, it's much better to draw into that Lance and have that available for your aggressive play than to draw into a wiretap or a trap stun, which makes you feel the need to wait a further turn in order to make your play. So that triple Lance is actually something I really like. And then you've got the 1 Ticket, the 1 Chateau. Once again, these 2 cards are really good if you are playing an OTK style version of this deck. Of course, Ticket is a good card, but you do not want it to be cloggy if you are working with such aggressive plays. You don't want it to take the place of a Madolche or an Angeli in your hand. So having just the 1 and 1, you can search it with your Message Lottos. You aren't going to be going for your OTKs nearly as often, which makes Chateau less important to you. And in a format like this, you can't even expect a Chateau to stick around that long because of the abundance of back row removal that exists. So you don't want to have to rely on that Chateau. It's just something you want to have in certain situations. And then the rank up magic, the 7th one, which allowed him to go into the 107 C107 plays. And the great thing about C107 is during the turn you summon it, after you activate its effect, your opponent can't activate effects. All your opponent's effects are negated this turn. So that is just crazy. I mean, except for, hand traps and hands and stuff like that, because it has been errated on the official page. It hasn't been errated in the official text on the card itself, but according to Konami, it only negates cards on the field. That's an important ruling to have available. Then he's got a really interesting trap lineup that I honestly think was just for fun. It is just all 1-ofs, and they're all decent 1-ofs for this format, keep in mind, but they're all 1-ofs, which I think was just for the sake of having a little bit of variety in your games. I just like the fact that it's teched out like that. I actually can't think of any practical uses for not running, multiple Breakthrough Skill or multiple Fiendish Chain or multiples of the cards that are good that you can run multiples in, but hey, that's the way that he played, and I'm sure that one of you guys is going to come up with a genius reason why he did that. The extra deck is fairly self-explanatory. I don't think I really have to go over that much. I'll just run through it. The side deck is really interesting. You've just got a ton of hand traps, including DD Crow, my favorite card, which is really good. It can actually turn out to be very good against spell books. When your opponent goes Master, you can drop the DD Crow. They can't use the Master that turn. It's especially good against Hat because if they have an artifact on the board, it then becomes dead with the DD Crow available in your hand. And of course, you've got Cycle Reader in order to make sure that Hat play does not make it through. It also takes care of Boojins to some degree. So then you've got 1 Mind Control and 1 Dark Hole, both of which turned out to be really important in the top 16 today, especially the Mind Control, which ended up winning him the game a couple times. So you've then got Wiretap, which allows him to block more trap cards if he's playing against a more trap-heavy deck. It blocks that Theosophy against Hat. And then you've got the Breakthrough skill, once again really good against Hat, and also really good against a couple of other decks that can stop this one. It stops Abyss Dweller, things like that. You've got the double Black Horn of Heaven, which is good for taking on those heavy Xyz decks. It can stop a lot of clutch Xyz plays. It takes out Gear Gigant Cross without the Cross getting its effect to add a monster back to your hand, or to special summon a monster, sorry. And it's just got some really good applications. It also stops Exciton Knight. It stops 101 without leaving a monster on the board. It's just a very good card. You've got the Soul Drain, and then you've got the double Light Imprisoning Mirror for Bujin and Hat. So that is the deck. I hope you guys like it. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in the comment section below. And of course, subscribe for more deck discussion, analysis, and general Yu-Gi-Oh! Shenanigans. Remember that I will be showing up in the next Great Yu-Gi-Tubers top 32, I guess, this week. So go ahead and check out my video. It'll be starting on Wednesday. I don't know when my video will actually be there, but be sure to support me by hitting up that like button when you visit that video. Thank you guys. I got a jet. See ya.